Okay, so typically I'm joined by one handsome gentleman. Today I've got two, Justice and Mario, aka Space from the YAA team. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to dive into the LA Auto Show. You guys were just there a couple days ago. I want to get your take on it. Justice, I guess I'll cue you up first. Like, what was your experience being there at the LA Auto Show? What most impressed you?
It was great. I loved being there. Lots of great cars, lots of great customs. My main takeaway was this EV thing is happening right now. It's not coming. It's not 20 years away. It's next year, full board. So many OEMs had just all EVs there. There are very few with hybrids and even less, I think, just Chevrolet with straight ICE vehicles. So it was great to see, but it was certainly eye-opening to see how many traditional OEMs are coming with EVs and how many brand new names you have never heard of are out there.
All right, Mario, I'm going to put you on the spot. Name a brand name that none of us have ever heard of before that was at the LA Auto Show.
The first one that's at the main entrance, like the first thing that you saw was Imperium. No one knows who Imperium is, but it's a Chinese OEM, and they have these SUVs at the front, and you can see the quality. It's not $100,000 EV, but it competes pretty well with main brands, and a lot of people were looking at them, getting to know who these Chinese OEM companies are, and I think that's going to be something new in next year. A lot of competition coming from over there, for sure.
Well, and a lot of the reading that I was doing about the show, it was kind of like there were three categories of OEMs that were there. There were like the household names, so those are like obviously your Teslas, your Rivians, like all the household names, and obviously Fords and GMs, etc. Then you have the Chinese competitors that are coming into the space. I did not know about Imperium. I don't even know how to spell that. But regardless, like the Imperiums of the world, I know VinFast was there, and they're launching their first vehicle in the States. And then you have like these homegrown OEMs. Like I think one of them, Justice, what was it called? Mullen?
Mullen, yeah. Mullen was fantastic. They won one of the prizes at the show for best new EV. It was a very nice car. We didn't get to sit inside it. It was blocked off because it's still new. But it looked very beautiful. They had great specs on it. Then you research them, and they own, a website, and they own 8 used car dealerships in LA and one in Arizona. They were just so they come from, hey, we sell used cars, and then decided, hey, let's make a car. And man, they did a home run with that one. It looks really good. So we'll see how it does, but it was definitely one of the darlings at the show.
VinFast, Zach, that you mentioned, that was, for me, it was like seeing the best of a new competitor. It's entering SUVs. You can see the design. They're not doing anything cheap vehicles, low value vehicles. They're going for the main segment. So with good design, it shows nice. You can see the quality is good, and the price is very affordable. It's affordable. It's competitive. It's not your usual Chinese or Vietnamese affordable brands. So I think, that was a big. You can see the pictures. I think we sent a couple of pictures. They were really nice. They showed really nice for a foreign competitor that's a new entry, for sure.
And for VinFast too, what the pictures didn't show was how packed their little venue was. Mm-hmm. They were full. You could barely squeeze through people. They had people lined up sitting at tables waiting to go see the vehicle. It was packed. I would say they were one of the most packed, other than the Subaru. They had the most people around it out of any vehicle we saw.
And that VinFast, Zach, I think they're opening 60 stores in California. So they're not like 10 years away. They're next year.
And those are direct-to-consumer stores, if I remember correctly, which is fascinating because like we all know, in all 50 states, there are franchise dealer laws that prohibit legacy OEMs from selling directly to consumers. And there have been all these carve-out legislations put into place that essentially allow EV makers to sell directly to consumers. Tesla, Lucid, Rivian, now VinFast, 60 dealerships. That's no joke. I mean, 60 viewing centers, however they want to phrase it.
They call it spaces. And actually, I got a poster a couple of months ago from one of these spaces, and it's a completely different experience, similar to what you were talking with Ray about, doing these more stores about testing the cars and doing the final signing of the delivery of the vehicle. And it's a completely different model. I think it's going to be the future.
So let's talk about the future a little bit. There were dozens of different manufacturers that were at the LA Auto Show, all promoting electric vehicles. What's this going to do in the market? How do you guys think about next year? You're obviously a part of the YAA team and part of the YAA community. Heck, you're talking to even more community members than me and my dad are day to day. You see how tough it is out there right now. Are we going to see EV deals next year? Is it the tax credits, or are there certain bright spots or kind of like down spots that you see in the market as a result of this push towards EV? Or how soon is it actually going to come? I'll defer to both of you on this. You're the experts.
Well, let me tell you, a lot of people gravitated toward the newest and more exotic vehicles over there. There were some really nice, like the Faraday, like FF91. It's $200,000 vehicle. I kind of was looking at the normal traditional cars that I think are going to be good deals next year, like the Kona, the Ioniq 5. There were some vehicles which the price is really competitive. And I think with the incentives that we're going to see next year, plus anything that's local, we're going to see great lease deals. We're also seeing residuals coming up. I was really surprised with the poster that I got was a 65% residual. That's higher than Subaru. And we're seeing residuals going up because there are more vehicles on the road, more EV vehicles on the road. And I think the big analysts are pricing the residuals better. And that means lower lease payments for everyone. So I think higher residuals, better incentives from federal or state, and hopefully better competition from these new entrants can keep prices, at the right mix. So we're seeing fundamentals, everything aligning, so we can get probably some good lease deals for next year, better than what we had this year.
And the best part, when you're leasing it, you have it under warranty. So with all these new cars coming out, I don't want to own that not under warranty. That's good insight, Mario.
Yeah, it's a computer with wheels. So you don't want to keep a computer for 10 years. I mean, the cost benefit, it's not there. So I think people need to learn, and we need to do a lot of work, Zach, educating, our members about, residual values, manufacturer, how everything combines to create those $300 a month payments, for a new vehicle that's going to save you on gas, no maintenance, and you're going to have the best technology, for the next 3 years. And then you can switch over to whatever is new, better range, better technology.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the points on these new Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean manufacturers that are coming through here for the EVs now too is that they're starting their price point well below what the American OEMs, even EVs, are doing. So like the Mullen is with 55,000, but the Imperium is 34,000, and take off $7,500 off of that. So leasing certainly is going to be, as Mario said, a great deal, but buying will be too. For those who aren't comfortable with leases for whatever reason and want to buy, I think these brands are offering a huge price reduction from the American OEMs right now.
Were there particular vehicles that got you both most excited? I know, Justice, you've mentioned this Mullen who won all the awards, and Mario, you seem pretty hot to trot on the VinFast, like high quality, competitive price point. Were those the two that stood out to both of you, or are there others that the YA community next year should be thinking about? Okay, I don't want to just read and watch videos about these cars. I want to go take them for a test drive at a performance center. Like, where should we have our eyes focused? What do both of you think?
I'll go first. The Ioniq 5, the Kona, the Lightning, the Ford Lightning, really, really impressive. It's just what it offers, everything, like this whole mix, even for the non-traditional truck crowd, it looks like a really nice option. These are traditional vehicles, which everyone's used to buying. I think those are the ones that caught my eye. From the traditional fuel, ICE vehicles, the Wagoneer. I mean, that's a really nice car if you have $110,000 in your pocket. I think it was one of the best. I think the Jeep Grand Cherokee and whatever Jeep is doing, they're doing good work on the traditional vehicles. But from the other side, I think those vehicles, the Ioniq 5s, I was really impressed. The space they had inside, the quality of materials, the design, everything. I mean, I just wish that I kind of waited another year, but there are going to be lines to get that car probably next year.
So let me start by saying my favorite one was the Faraday FF1, the $200,000 luxury executive limo. Now, if I was going to choose, that's the one I would choose. And if someone wants to buy that for me, it'd be fantastic.
Link down below to do that if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, the Ioniq 5, the EV6, the Kona, the Nero EV, I think is going to be a great buy. I like the VinFast. And Mario says he liked the EV5 or the Ioniq 5 best, but when you saw him near that Subaru, I've got to tell you, I think he liked that the best.
I forgot about that one, the Solterra. It's weird name.
The Subaru Solterra. Yeah, but the amount of time he spent with any vehicle, that Solterra, that drew his eye, and it was a great vehicle, and I think that's going to do really, really well. So I think you're going to see, still sticking with some of the traditional OEMs next year. I think 2023, 2024 is when you're going to see the explosion of the Imperiums and the VinFasts and the Mullens and my taking delivery of the Faraday.
And hopefully, Zach, it's probably not going to be the volume sellers, these small ones, but they spur innovation in the competition. And we didn't see that from Chevrolet. We went through the space and no EVs, the two that they have, nowhere to be seen. So it was kind of, I didn't get the memo.
That's because you can't park a Bolt within 50 feet of other cars.
I know.
Yeah, I think there was a couple pile of ashes on the floor, and I believe those were the Bolts. And then that was
Did you see a phoenix rise from them in the
only 80% of one. Right.
So yeah, because that's the charging capacity.
Yeah.
So actually, can you speak to that a little bit, Mario? Can you tell us, paint the picture of what the Chevy experience was like? Obviously, you've mentioned Jeep had the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer, and they're doing great work over there. And those are ICE vehicles, which is great. That's fine. What was going on over at Chevy? What was the vibe like compared to the rest of the show?
Just the first moment that you step to their area, there were these three engines, normal engines, the cutouts, and no one was looking at them. Why do you go to the show to see, a cutout of a 6.2 diesel engine or whatever? I mean, I think that it showed that they're not, their lineup, it's not aligned to what's happening, and they just go with what they have. And they have trucks, and you only saw, man, they're okay, but you saw the difference between the other OEMs and Chevrolet, and that's really stark difference. They had huge area, but no EVs or even any prototype or anything. I think that was a stark difference between the other OEMs.
You saw the same thing, Justice?
Yeah, I think they seemed a bit out of touch at that show in particular. I don't know that they're out of touch for all of America or anything. I'm not saying that. So at the show, they seemed really out of touch. They were one of the most empty spaces we went to. Like Mario said, they had these two giant engines out there. No one was around them. They were talking about two vehicles that were hybrids that they had. Those were the only non-straight ICE vehicles they had there. No EVs. And people just weren't, keeping in mind this is California, but people were not flocking to their area at all. Even over a Ford, which had two ICE vehicles, including a very beautiful Mustang. Um, Everything else was EV, and man, people were lined up. They were test driving the Mach E. They had 5 different Mach E's out on the floor that were open, and people were gathered around. There was always somebody inside of them. There was a huge line to test drive the Mach E. Ford definitely knew what they were doing. They had that F100 EV that was beautiful. That is definitely the way that Ford should go. Told Mario right now, I will get rid of my Cybertruck whenever it comes. I'll get rid of my Model 3 to get a 68 fastback EV any day. That is the way that Ford needs to go.
I love it. I love it. And the news recently came out from Dodge that they're actually going to be discontinuing the Charger and the Challenger as ICE vehicles. Those are your stereotypical muscle cars. And really, Chevy's the only one that's saying, all right, we're going to stick in our lane, which is ironic because then Mary Barra, GM CEO, speaks eloquently and at length about how she would like the company to be valued just like her dear friends over at Tesla. And it's just mixed messaging. And it's really neat to hear from both of you because I think you hit on a really fair point, Justice. Different audiences in different places. When you're in LA, if you're showing up with cutouts of 6.2 liter engines, that's going to miss. If you're in Detroit, there's probably a stronger audience for that, but when you're in LA, you can't be doing that. And I think it's indicative of, honestly, California is a bit of the testing ground for the push to EV. There's how much, I think you have the stats, Justice. There's like 200 incentives in California, something like that.
So yeah, there's 169 incentives for EVs from the government, from local power, cities, counties. The next closest state is New York with 52. The average state has 20. So we have 169. California's official main export now is EVs.
So let that sink in for a moment. I mean, if you're an automaker and you're coming to the LA Auto Show and you're pushing, a cutout of an engine, and then your bolt is, not allowed within 50 feet of the premises, and it is actually really sad. They've mentioned that they're not going to do any more production this year until they can iron out more issues. So anyway, it just speaks volumes to this. I'm going to say it, beginning of a change of guard happening, at least in the state of California, but also probably in New York State, and quite frankly, eventually across the United States, of this push towards EV. And you guys are at the forefront of it. You were at the forefront of it. You saw it. You saw it firsthand, and that's pretty damn cool.
I think where Chevy's kind of missing this too is they're saying they're stopping production of the Bolt till they can iron things out. Meanwhile, there are Chinese and Vietnamese and Korean car companies that just started a couple of years ago, last year, who seem to have already figured it out. So I'm not really sure where someone as knowledgeable and as big as Chevrolet is struggling so hard with this piece.
Yeah, it's incredible because you saw a Hyundai, like everyone, even I consider a Hyundai. I saw the Veloster over there. I would have never considered a Korean company. I've always been the traditional, either BMW or been with the European. But now you see these Korean companies, they are like, they're the winners right now. And I think that the Chinese are kind of learning and saying, hey, we want a piece of the pie. And Chevrolet and Ford has been doing pretty well, Zach. I mean, I saw their area, and I'm impressed with what they're doing. I think they've done pretty well during the shortage, and during EVs, I think they're doing the right thing. Even what they showed at the show, that F100 that Justice was mentioning, it just tells you that they're working to find new markets and how to innovate. And I think that it's a good sign, at least with the domestic OEMs. I think Ford, it's a good sign.
Yeah, I agree. I think the domestic OEMs, Ford is right there at the forefront of it. Their stock price doesn't show what they're doing, I don't think. I think they're really a lot more forward thinking and are pushing really hard. And I think people are going to be very surprised in the next couple of years on how they come out of all this.
So I want to give you the opportunity, guys, some parting shots. Also, kudos to both of you. If you're unfamiliar with Justice and if you're unfamiliar with Mario, aka Space, go back, join yaa.com/community. They are super active there, whether it be on our live chat, helping support there, or back on the community. These are two of the most influential people in YAA who you may not have seen their face before. So kudos and thank you to both of you for feeling comfortable enough to get on the camera and chat with me here. Want to give you the chance, put you on the pedestal. Final words, final thoughts from the LA Auto Show. Justice, I'll start with you. Also, you look, just to be clear, you look like you could be the CEO of any of these brand new electric car companies that are coming out. Like, you could have told me you're the CEO of Imperium, and I would have thought that's either like one of those perfume stores at the mall, you know what I'm talking about,
Yes,
or an electric car company. So you're killing it, man.
Well, I would like to certainly at least be vice president of the YAA EV car company. You know, we can make the Yeah Buddy. That would be our first vehicle that we could have out there. That would be fantastic. I'm all for that.
I will go talk to the investors right after we get off.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we could just use Ray's stamp of approval on the hood as the emblem. Yes, I mean, final impressions. The show was amazing. Loved it. Love seeing what a lot of these places are. You know, Mario touched on Jeep. I didn't really touch on it. I'm not a big Jeep enthusiast. The vehicles they had there were very impressive. They were very nice. You can see the quality of them going way up. And even their Jeep Grand Wagoneer, the $110,000, had all the off-road capabilities if you want to take your $110,000 car off-road. It was fantastic. Everyone really did a very good job, except for Chevy. And it was a lot of fun. And you know, the crowds were very, very engaging. We didn't get to see Lucid wasn't there on Saturday, and Rivian wasn't there on Saturday. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see those. I have test driven both of them already anyway, so I was okay with that. But you know, it was a good time, and big changes are coming.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to be at this time where this transitioning is happening, Zach. I mean, it doesn't happen like very common when you're seeing such a big shift, you know, in the market. And I think there's a lot of work that we need to do to adapt to this new type of market that is being created. So I think it's been great. I mean, working here at YA and helping people understand, you know, how this is going to change. I mean, it's going to change from the insurance point of view. It's going to change from the maintenance point of view, how you buy a vehicle, the pricing, you know, do you keep it? Do you lease it? It's going to bring a lot of change everywhere. And I think we have to be ready, you know, for the change.
Well, I'm super excited to take on that change and to work with both of you guys to make sure that we are empowering all the YAA community members and anyone who's just, you know, Google searched LA Auto Show and found this video. That's what we do back at joinyaa.com. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to share your insights from that experience. And I can't wait. Hopefully, let us know in the comments down below if you want to see us go to more auto shows. I could see like, I'll say the three of us, plus I'll put in a phone call to my dad, see if he could join us, maybe a couple other auto advocates on our team. Phil, we can maybe get Candace and Kimberly to join us. Warren, maybe even as well. Love to see a presence maybe for YAA at these auto shows. Let us know in the comments below if that's an idea that you like. And I'll get the credit card ready to start paying for airfare.
Yeah, I vote yes. We go. All right. I'd love to go. I would love to see the difference in Detroit, like you said. I would love to see if we see as many EVs there as we did in LA. That'd be fascinating.
Well, thanks again, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Got it. Yeah. Bye.